What's going on? Welcome back to Game Time 123. Today, we're going to be doing the second part to Battle of Middle Earth for Middle Earth. This is the second. This is the Cats deck and the Werewolves, Middle of the Werewolves and the Cats of Power deck. Both these decks are, and hopefully they do somewhat a little bit better. There's not as many cards in the Orpha because there's supposed to be a lot more of the one of certain cards in there, so this will be an interesting effect off that. I'm going to lower these down here. Alright, so Cats of Power. We're going to start with Cats of Power. The whole basis of this Cats of Power deck is basically powering up other creatures that you have here. Starting off, we got Slife. A little bit closer here. Slife, Warrior of Daylight. It has first strike, and whenever a cat or warrior attacks, that creature gains first strike until end of turn. And you can make it so it can't. And you can make it by paying 4. You can make it so it cannot be blocked, and it has first strike on its own. It's pretty decent. It's one of those cards that could potentially be the commander for the deck, because all these decks are intended to be commander. Number 2, we have Lynx, Warrior Power. It's a legendary creature, cat. For 2, it's a 1/2 creature. You can place a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control. Not on this one, so this creature can't get much stronger, but it comes down to this. But it's another one of those creatures that can easily be the commander for this set. Got Warrior Cat, a 2/2 for 1. Not much to say about that. It has first strike. Dark Fire, legendary cat. Another one of these cards that could be the commander. Whenever it attacks, up to one creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste until the turn. So it can't attack itself, right? Well, it has haste and it has first strike. So you give something else haste and +1/+0 whenever you get to it. And this is another one of those creatures that can easily be the commander for the set. Remember, the whole objective is to power up everything else. We got Titanheart. And this one is one of those cards you can have as many copies of this card as you want. When it enters battlefield, you place 1 counter on another target creature, which can't be itself, but you can have as many of these cards as you want. It's a 1/3 for 2. It has a similar effect to Rat Colony. But this one gives just 1/1 counters to everything else. And this one, I'll probably say there are about 20 of them in the deck, give or take, for that one. We got Overfeed. I know there's a dog in the image. This is technically a cat's deck. There wasn't an option for that, so it's a chain creature. A chain creature can attack or block whenever it leaves the battlefield. You get to draw a card. So this is also in the dogs, the Draw of the Dogs deck. It's also in that one, but basically it's exactly that. You basically get to draw a card, and it's just individual enchantment. Make sure creatures. You basically make it so you can't. You're eliminating one creature that's attacking you, that could attack you. Flame Blaze. It is a fire cat. It has Firestorm. This is one of those new effects I have in here. Firestorm is basically an effect. It's whenever this creature attacks, everything that player controls takes 1 damage. And you can also pay 5 to make it each creature you control deals 1 damage to each opponent. So basically you do a lot of damage with this creature itself. It's not a legendary creature, but in a commander game, that's probably not going to be much of a difference. We got Cat Advisor. When a creature attacks, you may remove a 1/1 counter from it. You gain 3 life. So you can basically give this thing counters or whatever you and make creatures you want, and then you can gain a lot of life from this. You can also place 1/1 counters on a target creature for 3. We got a color. I don't think this was not in the dog set, but it could potentially be. Basically, it is a card that hurts you over time, but when a equipped creature attacks, you lose 1 life. So you lose 1 life, it equips for 2. The equipped creature, however, is +3/+3, so it does do a lot when it comes to it. It is an artifact, though, it's just much more easy to destroy off that effect. We got Emberstone. It's a legendary cat. Legendary creature, cat warrior. Whenever Emberstone enters the battlefield, it'll get a 2/1. There's a lot of the cards that do exactly that. Red and white cat token with haste. It has vigilance, and whenever a creature you control dies, you create a 2/1 red-green cat token with haste. I think most of them actually just said 2/1 cat. That's basically it. It's another one of those cards that could be pretty good when it comes down to putting something on the field. And here's our 2/1 red-white cat token with haste. Next we got is Orange Blade. This is, okay, so I think I've explained this in other videos before, but it's a new card type that I made. Legendary instant creature. Basically how they work is that they are legendary creatures after you've cast their first phase. First off, you cast whatever their first ability is, so this one says create 2/1 cats with haste. And then later you can play it from your graveyard for wherever the weakness cost is. This creature has haste, so it's a huge creature. So basically this is a card that does a little bit, you have to basically pay 5 overall to play this card, but it does have a lot of effects. Whenever Orange Blade attacks, create a copy of Orange Blade attacking, except it's not legendary, and you have to sacrifice it in combat. So you get a copy of a 2/4 creature. It's an Orange Blade, and that does a lot. This is why very much reason that's a mythic. It's another one of those creatures that can be your commander. Alright, let's talk some of the small. So this is one of those cards that was in the dog set as well, but it can be it's put into the cat set mostly. You can create a 2/1 or 1/1 blue-white dog, or a 2/1 cat with haste, and you draw a card. So you more likely would put a 2/1 cat with haste, but in this case you draw a card either way, and that does help you from this. And you can put it in both of the decks. Search the Soul. Oh gosh, this card is a little bit really good, okay? You choose 2 of them. There's a similar one in the Draw of the Dogs deck. Either create a 2/1 cat token with haste, target creature gets +1/+1, or you search a library for a plains or mountain card and place onto the battlefield tapped. And you can have as many copies as you want of this one as well. There's probably a few copies, it's not many of them. But this card is actually ridiculously insane, just for even a common. It is a sorcery, so you can only play it on your turn. Space Light, oh no. Legendary creature. This is the card that's like the legendary dog in the last set, because this is very similar. Very similar effects. It can't be countered. That's a huge thing. So if it's your commander, and you're able to get it out for 9 and 10 mana. Apologies for that. Then it's got a lot. Its effect is when it enters the battlefield, each player Removes all creatures except for cats, beasts, and warriors. So this is probably not as good of a card as the other one, as the dog one, but it is a pretty ridiculously good card. It is a 1/3 for a lot of mana. But you get to, it can't die. It just comes back to the field every time, and then that same thing triggers over and over again. So if you do happen to get your cards back in there, they're just not going to stay around. It can't, when it dies or is exiled, you return it. Cat Graveyard. This is the legendary land. You can tap it for white and red, and whenever it taps for mana, the target creature gets +1/+1. And at the end of your turn, if a creature died this turn, you place the tomb counter on this, which is not something that exists, but that's the same. It basically just put a counter on it and says, then you remove any number of tomb counters, and when you do, you create that many to one cat's face. Interesting land. It's an interesting legendary land. You might be able to see this be a little bit lower, honestly, in the context of valid rarity. The next one here we got is Cats Playing with Fire. It is just it's a power up. You pay 3, and then you can sacrifice a creature to give another creature +1/+1. This is one of those cards that's similar to dealing physical damage, but it actually just allows you to power up your creatures over and over and over again. And it is a cat type too, so if you were just destroying cats, or cards that weren't cats, that's the idea. We got Search for the Answer. Search for life. Oh, this is one of those tutors. This would be ridiculously expensive if, yes, but it does give you a bit of an advantage to your opponents. You search life for a card and place it into your hand, and each opponent gains 3 life. You can recast it again and again and again. So basically, if you wanted to, assuming you wanted to give your opponent a lot of life, you could cast it again and again and again. It costs 2 on the first cast, 2 on the second. Three in the third, and so on. And it's a pretty cool, good card. I don't think it's ridiculously difficult, but you know, if you are winning by a lot, this would be one of those cards you might do to finish the game off. Power World. It's another one of those cards that have Storm, and Storm is in fact allows you just to constantly cast it, make duplicates of the card for every spell you've cast this turn. You put a 1/1 counter on target creature and it gains first strike until end of turn for 3. And then for every spell you've cast, you get an additional one. And you can have as many copies of this one in your deck as well. Embercat. 1/1 with haste. There's not much else to say about that. Fire Spine. When it attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on it. So it is a 3/2 that gets stronger every time it attacks, and it has first strike. That's a pretty powerful starter just to be able to put that in the field. It's not legendary, so it can't be a commander, but yeesh. Cat's Sword. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 if it's a cat, otherwise it gets -1/-2, and equipped for 1. Oh, cat or beast. So I don't know at what point you would ever want to actually equip it to something unless you wanted something to die, but you could do it and it might do something. Samurai Cat. Oh, we got favorite. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. There is a very good reason why this is a ridiculously good card. Whenever it attacks, each other creature that isn't attacking taps and gets a blade counter. So it's another counter you put onto creatures that aren't attacking. And when a samurai cat gets +1/+0 for each blade counter on creatures and gains double strike until end of turn. And you can also just put blade counters on creatures. This is a ridiculously good card if you ever can play it. It is a little expensive, but for 4/4, it can become ridiculously powerful. It does not have first strike, but it can gain double strike, and that's huge. That's basically first strike and again. So huge effect for that one. And we just have a cat soldier. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2/1 cat with haste for 1 mana. That's interesting. Cat City. Okay, so it enters tapped. No surprises there. When it enters the battlefield, you return a non-token creature to your hand or sacrifice it. So you do have to return something to your hand, but it's searchable as well because it's a plains mountain creature land. So you can search for it with using other spells you've got. Cat Home. It enters tapped unless you control 2 or more cats. You can tap it for just 1 white or red, or you can pay 1 and get white and red. You can only activate that once per turn, but honestly, that's really all you need. It is not one of those creature cards you can have as many copies of it, though, unfortunately, because it's not basic land. Cat Mountain. Oh, you can have as many cards. Okay, a deck can have as many cards as you want. With Cat Mountain, all it is, it's just basically a certain land that just says tap for either red or red or white. It's common too, so it's not great, but it's all you need to have. Cat God, okay. This is another card that can be your commander. It can be your commander. Woohoo! It has 2 only. And target cat or warrior gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. I guess because it's a cat god, that makes some sense. Or you can -1 to place a 1/1 counter on target creature. Not a particularly good card, but it still has some good moves for it. Giant Power. This is one of those cards that has a mystical color, which means, and it's also devoid, which means nothing pretty much. Devoid basically means that it has no color, so you can play with it with any deck. The second thing, though, is that it's mystical colors, which means you can play it in a format, or in a format, as long as it's brought to have a commander. Like if it's a commander game or a brawl game, then you can play this on the field. Target creature gets +10/+10 and loses all those until end of turn. Kind of sad about that, but it gives it +10/+10, so that's huge. And there's another card that's very similar to that. That's green. I don't remember what the actual effect. I think it gives it +10/+10, but it's like an enchantment. So yeah. Mystical Charm. It has mystical color as well, so you can play it. It's choose one at the start. No. Choose one at the turn of Alright, I'm clearly messed this up. Choose one at the start of each turn. Creatures you control gets +2/+0 or +0/+2 until end of turn. This card is ridiculously powerful. Obviously, this part is not completely ready. You choose one at the choose one at the start of. Choose one at the turn of each turn. Beginning of each turn, you choose one of those, and the all creatures get +2/+1 or 0/+2. So basically, if it's your turn, you might want to make them +2/+0. If it's not your turn, make them +0/+2. Make it darn difficult for them to use. We got Cat Cleric. When a creature you control, with power 3 or less, attacks, he gets +3/+0 until end of turn. 3 or less. So basically, you made your 3 whatever creature a double, like 6 power. And as a bonus, you get up even more by paying just 1 mana. This is a ridiculously good card. How is it just a common? I don't know. If you guys think any of these cards are even printable or lands, let me know in the comments down below this. Or if you want to go to MTG Cardsmith, you can rate some of these cards and put them up in favorites. I believe you can make accounts are free. You just have a limited amount of cards you can make. I think it's 750. But I will wait a few days before that because they're still working on updating some of the mechanics for the site. Next card, we got Cat Thief. Oh, it's another instant creature. It's not a cat, by the way. Not really. You gain control of target permanent until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn if it's a creature. Wow. You can pay 3 weakness cost. Whenever its weakness cost is paid, you create a 2/1 cat with haste, and it's a 2/3 haste. It costs 6 to gain control of something, which is honestly probably not unreasonable for that mechanic. We got Armored Cat. It gets Armored Cat is whenever it's enchanted or equipped, you get to place a 1/1 counter on it. Each permanent only counts as once. Oh, so whenever it becomes enchanted or becomes equipped, you can place a 1/1 counter on it. That does not mean if you decide I'm going to equip this and then I'm going to move it over to here, then I'm going to bring it back. That doesn't work that way. It only works once per permanent because it says each permanent only counts once. Was it? Yeah. Alright. Next card here is Cat Striker, a legendary creature for 5. Whenever it deals combat damage, you place damage to a player, place a 1 counter onto our creature. You also have Outlast, which is you tap it and then place a 1 counter on our target creature. You can only act as a sorcery. Creatures with a 1/1 counter have Ward 2. That includes this one if you put a counter on this creature. So yeah, everything's gonna have a lot of counters on it. Infernal Blaze, it's basically shock. You can pay for 2 later, and whenever it attacks, deals 1 damage to target player. So basically, it's a shock that continuously shocks you. So it's a continuous shock, pretty much. Not exactly, but pretty close to that. Fire of Cats. Legendary instant creature. Creature controls +1/+1 until end of turn, so it just upgrades your creatures. You can pay, weakness is 8, for a good reason. Whenever it attacks, exile any number of creatures from your graveyard. And you create X 2/1 cats tapped and attacking. So you get, but you basically are going to get a minimum of, if you did just one, an extra 2/1 attacking, which is a pretty huge creature. Might not be worth being a mythic, but it's pretty powerful. It's more like an in-game creature. Call a Beast. Mystical colors. I think it's in both of the decks. You can sacrifice the beast to search your library for a non-legendary creature and place it onto the battlefield tapped. It's a tutor for a creature, pretty much. Is a 5/1 protection from black. It's obviously common for a reason. Not a very good card. It's just common. Kitten. Oh gosh. I made some of these cards, I think, way too powerful for just commons. Whenever Kitten dies, place a 1 counter on another creature. It's a zero cost creature, but whenever it dies, you do get placed under counter on something else. That's not the only one I made out of this one, I think. Baby Meow. And Baby Meow you can have as many copies of Baby Meow, Baby Meow on field. You can sacrifice it to make target creature become 0 power equals 0 until end of turn. And you can activate as a sorcery, but it's a 0 because it's a 0/1. Now I will point out that if you did sacrifice it, its power becomes 0. It doesn't affect the 1/1 counters. So if you had a creature that was a 2/2 creature with a counter on it, making a 3/3, it would become a 1/3 instead of the anchors. I did put some subtext on this one. You wouldn't attack a kitten, would you? I couldn't do it for most of the cards, but I did it with this one. Chip. It's a cat squirrel. It's kind of a land creature. 1 red or white, red. Whenever it dies or is exiled, place a 1/1 counter on another target creature. So you do get something off of this. You can also just tap it for 1 mana of one of the red or white. So it does something. Baby Squirrel Cat. You can have as many copies as you want. It's a 0 cost card. So imagine just drawing, 70s on turn 1. They can't attack still, but you have 7 on the field now. You sacrifice 6 of them because that sacrifice is not not a summoning effect. So you can make one of your cats, the baby cat squirrel, become a 7/7 creature on turn 1. So basically, get a 7/7 creature on turn 1 if you happen to have 70s out there. We got Cat Tree Speaker. Whenever a box creature with flying gets +3/+0, and you can sacrifice it to untap 2 lands. It's a squirrel, it makes sense for heavy reach. Daylight Fighter. Okay, this is actually a double-sided card, which is why it has Daybound. It's a side A, the other side is Midnight Fane. It just tells you that that's the next card, I believe. Whenever it becomes day, it gets +2/+0 and has haste. That just means when you play it onto the field, if it's night somehow, it is. Actually, well, basically, it was night, and it flips over to daytime. It has haste. It's just a 3/2 creature. Otherwise, for 5 mana. And the other side, which will not have a mana cost on it, has Midnight Fane. It's Nightbound. Whenever a creature, whenever it comes night, creatures you control gets +2/+0 to end of turn. Oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. Just for putting a cat on the field. We got Evil Cat. This is a terrible card. It's a 0 cost card, but you have to sacrifice at the end of turn. When it dies, you lose 10 life. So it's a 10/10 with haste. So if you put this, if you got, wait a minute, this card is ridiculous. You can't have more than 1 copy of this, but imagine making a copy of this creature on turn, because you deal 10 damage, you lose 10 life from the fact. But in Commander, that's 25% of the life total right there. That's a lot. And imagine being able to create duplicates of that. Imagine having like something like Helm of the Host in the deck. If you're playing with a 1v1 commander game, You win on like turn 3 with that card after you play against the field. And equipment. Each sacrifice of those actually doesn't have any equipment cost. Yeah, actually, that's not a good card now I think about it. We got Warrior Sacrifice. That's Cleave. You can exile target creature. It's one you control unless you pay the Cleave cost for 5. Then we got Owl. You can place it's an instant creature. Place a 1/1 counter target creature. Tap it, and you can pay the weakness cost, which is X. And when you cast it, you put X1 counters on it. So it does have something. Otherwise, you could technically just cast it and it immediately dies as a 0/0 if you want to. Shadow Flame. Another legendary creature. Oh. Yeah, read that first text, please. You can't lose the game. It has Shadow as well. Shadow Flame must attack each turn, and Shadow Flame does count as all colors. So it's a 5-color commander. So you can't actually take this as your commander. Well, actually, no, you can. It has an instructable in this round, too. God, it's a 1/1, though, so... yeah. This will be difficult to lose with. Our shields, you can only use with blue, red, or white mana. And you can pay 3 life to counter a spell, or pay 1 life to block all damage from any target. And it can't be destroyed by blue, red, or white spells. So only green or black spells. No, sorry. It can't be destroyed by blue, white, or red. So basically you have to target it with green or black spells. I don't know what that is, but it's Belta. Whenever another human or 2 other cats, no, as long as you have 2 other cats or a noble, it has an instructable. Prepare for it. Create a creature. You should summon a token of a non-legendary creature. I got Nimbus is a 1/6 for 2. Not much else to talk about that one. It's an instant creature, not legendary. You exile target creature and return to the battlefield untapped. And you can pay the weakness to make it a 1/2. Whenever it enters the battlefield, target creature, you may return target creature from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Then we got Chloe and Witten, or Whiten. At the start of each player's turn, you may play the white and the red. If you do, place a 1/1 counter target creature. When a creature you control with a 1/1 counter dies, you create a 2/1 counter with haste. It has Ward 2 and double strikes of 3/7. And that's the last one for that one. We're going to get into, so that's the last one for this one. We're going to go into the middle of the Werewolves deck needs, but I'm going to take a short break for it, and then I'll be right back for this. so let's get into this next one. This next deck is based off of milling you or your opponent. It just depends on which one it is. There's probably going to be a few other cards I'm going to put into this deck. I just haven't completed it. First off, we got Pouring Rain. This is actually a favorited cards before. I don't know what happened to it. Might not be. But it's tap 2 creatures for 1. It's not blue. It's technically blue. The color is blue, but it's just a tap 2 card creature for 1. Call the 3 for 0. You mill 3 cards, and you can play up to 3 creatures from your graveyard onto the battlefield, except those creatures lose all tap and mana abilities. So they basically lose all their tap and mana ability. And to make you understand that, we'll probably talk about when we get to that, what it means for it. It just means that you get to return creatures. It's a big card, pretty good, ridiculously good common. Nightwalker. So this card would not be this is all tap and mana abilities. This card would not be affected. When you draw a card, each opponent mills a card, 1 card. It's a 1/2 for not much off of this one. It's just a werewolf. Most of theirs are werewolves. Now this one, if you got this one back, would lose the tap ability. It also basically doesn't matter if you were able to put back. It is a 2 cost. It's a 7/7 for 2. Draw a card for if you tap. You have to sacrifice a creature in addition to it. But goodness, it's a 4 tap. Draw a card. Target player mills 2 cards. It's a 7/7. This card might be ridiculously insane. For a 2 cost 7/7, when was the last time you had one of those? I don't know. Overprotect. Destroy target creature. If you declared an attack before playing this spell, target creature you control gains trample until end of turn. So basically, if you cast this during kind of the mid-combat phase, then it becomes a creature gets trample in its addition. Wolf the Werewolves. Whenever werewolf or of wolves enters battlefield, you create 2/2 black wolf when this creature dies or is exiled. Then you can exile tokens still technically. The target player mills 2 cards. And here's the token for that. It's a 2/2 for 4. Here's the token. Exactly what it is. That's really all there is to it. I have treason. This is a sorcery. Mill X cards and place X counters. So it costs 4. So you can technically do for 5 mana. Then you get a 1/1 counter on target creature. And then mill 1 card. It's not a good card. It just doesn't have any effects. It just says if you happen to play a lot of mana for it, then it becomes ridiculously good. But it's not really. Rise of the Moon. Wolves and werewolves have +1/+1. That's really all it is for 3 mana. There's nothing else to say about that card. Trapped In. Okay, this is a 3 cost. It's a 1 and 2 black. A chant creature becomes tapped and doesn't tap during the entire untapped upkeep. I think it might be untapped step. Oh, upkeep's where the untapped step occurs, I think. So You can mill one, but you can pay 2 to mill 1 card and untap it. It's a decent card. Sacrifice the Werewolves. 1, 2 blue, and 2 black. Adds additional cost. Sacrifice creature. This card is probably really too low. Create 7 2/2 black 2/2 wolves with trample. They're blue wolves. 7 of them. And this is an uncommon. Probably going to be probably at least a mythic. If it's maybe you get lucky with being a rare. And there's a 2/2 wolf with trample. There's nothing else with that. Giant werewolf. This card is way too easy to cast. You may mill 15 cards from your deck instead of paying Giant Werewolf's mana cost. So basically, you can mill 15 cards, and it's Trample, Menace, and Reach. It's a 15/15. Trample, Menace, and Reach. Basically, it can't be, it's not your commander, obviously, but Trample, Menace, Reach. It's pretty huge. And it's ridiculously expensive, which is why it's a mythic, apparently. I could see it maybe going down to a rare, because you can mill 15 cards to do it, so that's not bad for that card. And honestly, it might be the game ender, pretty much, if you do that. Final Strike. Final Strike for 3. Target gets first strike until end of turn. It's a 3 cost first strike. It's not very good for this one. Dark Knight Werewolf. Whenever a Dark Knight can't be targeted by enchantments, creatures, or lands, or artifacts. So it can't be targeted. It can't be targets from enchantments, creatures, lands. So basically, it's not hexproof exactly, because it can still be targeted by hints and sorceries. This can't be a target of any effects that are enchantments. So it can't be a target of cards that make you exile it. It can't be targeted by creatures, lands, or artifacts. It's a 4/1 though, so it's kind of expensive. We got Behind the Gate for 2 and 2 blue. Once per turn, when a creature is destroyed, you may return it to your hand. It's just basically saying you can return something to your hand instead of letting it go to the graveyard. Uncontrollable. Enchant creature for 3. It gets +1/+1 and must attack each turn. It's just, that's how it works for that one. It's goated, basically. Flarewood Werewolf. It is a legendary creature. When it attacks or block, target player mills 2 cards, which can be yourself. Although mill is spelled wrong, I apologize for that. And you can pay 6 to make target player mill 4 cards. Meh. For Werewolf, for the legendary thing, no. It is technically both colors, by the way, for that case, because you do have the blue on top of it. Old Werewolf. It's a 9 cost, 9 creature with trample. Not much else to say about that. Then you got Love for Meat. Target creature, target werewolf or wolf gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Not much else to talk about here. Red Eye. When it's destroyed or is exiled, you draw 2 cards. It's just an extra draw effect that you get for it. Not much else about that. It's a 1/1. Standoff. 2 dark creatures fight. They deal damage to each other, equal to their power. And then if either creatures just dies, both players mill 5 cards. So you lose. So both players. So basically, both players lose 5 cards if a creature is destroyed. So you have. I'm going to act this win. My woman's going to fight your You're 4-1. Both of them die. We both have 5 cards. It's an interesting effect for it. Someone know. Eyes worse than its bite. It's an enchantment. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 if it's black and gains tap, deal 1 damage to any target player. If it's blue, then it gets -1/+2 and has mill 2 cards from target player's deck or library is what we would word that to. But if it's both, you get both abilities. So basically, because if it is both, it gets +3 +0. It's +0 +3, and it has both these abilities. Bite the hand. This is ridiculous. Deal 1 damage to target player. There's nothing else in that. Just deal 1 damage to target player. Hunt the werewolves. Non-werewolves are +1/+1, while non-werewolves are +1/+1, and wolves are +1/-2. You probably would. I don't know if I would ever want to play this in the actual deck. Werewolf Collar. Add 2/2 blue wolves' trample to the battlefield under control. It's a legendary creature. You can get a bunch of stuff for it. But if you were to replay this, it would lose that ability. It's a tap ability. In the dead of night, 2 cost. When a creature attacks and isn't blocked, defending player mills 2 cards. That's just an extra mill effect if it isn't blocked. Mill Blue Wolf. A 1/1 wolf, artifact creature, wolf, that says tap, pay 2, tap, mill 1 card from all players' decks. This affects all players. So guys, I'm going to play this. All of us have, give or take, 80 cards left. Everyone's going to mill 1 card. Not a very good card. Pounce. A mill up to X cards, so you mill up to 5 cards, because it says up to 5. And then target creature gets +X/+X. Again, this probably should be a rare until end of turn. And it's an instant. So you could mill no cards and become +0/+0, just an extra spell to cast if you wanted to do that. Tribal Werewolf. This card's a little bit weird. You can tap it, mill half your library, lose half your life points, create 5 blue 2/2 wolves of trample to mill half your library. So it costs half your library, half your life points. You get 5 of them, and it does cost a lot of mana to play on the field. I don't know why you would want to play this card. Werewolf of the Night. Okay, this is the one of those cards that's weird. At the start of your turn, you get a 3/3 gold werewolf, so you get a werewolf. +1. Target creature gains trample. It can't be your commander. Mill 60 cards from your deck. It's supposed to be I can't change cards that are planeswalkers. It doesn't let me. Maybe they're gonna update that. Mill 60 cards from your deck. White Wolf, that's a 2/2 for 3. Not much to say that. Human Archer gets +1/+1 for each 1 mana spent to cast it. So if you play 10 mana into this, it becomes a 10/10 creature with reach. Prisoner of the Werewolf. Gains flying if you control 3 more wolves or werewolves. Not both. Wolves or werewolves. and it can't attack a block unless a werewolf attacks a block at the same time. So it has to attack. It can't attack alone, basically. Werewolf battle. Target creature fights another creature for 6 mana. You can play it any time though. It's kind of bad though. Werewolf King. Okay. In theory, you can, if you had infinite mana, you could do this. You can make an infinite. You can return everything. So basically, you can pay 2 to untap a creature. You pay 4 to untap it, and then return a wolf or werewolf to your hand for 9 mana. I don't know at what point you ever want to cast this other ability, but you can tap it. But you can untap itself to return it back to your hand and play it again, I guess. This is a ridiculously hard creature to play, though. Okay, Moonwalk Under the Moon. 0 cost. You choose 1. You draw 1 card, lose 1 life, and draw 2 cards. Sacrifice a creature, and then create a 3/1 werewolf bird with flying when this creature attacks, mill a card from your deck, lose 3 life. That's what it is. It's legendary sorcery, so the way that works is you cannot play this unless you have a legendary creature on the field. That's the way legendary sorceries work. Werewolf bird. Yep, there it is. It's a 3/1. Graveyard. Pay 2 to add 5. You can add it once per turn. And at the start of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature or mill 5 cards from your deck. Moonsea, the same thing occurs with this, except it's blue instead. That's it. Oh, werewolf, it can't attack. Why would you ever want to play this card? It's an awful card. It's an extra sacrifice, pretty much. Can't attack. It's a 2/1. No point in ever playing this card. We got Teleport and Panther, which I just added to this deck. It's a wolf. Teleport and Bear can't be blocked this turn, or you can pay the 2. That's right. Exile target creature and return to the battlefield tapped and attacking with 1 counter on it. Wow. And it's not a tap ability. So think of it this way. You can do this theoretically twice for every time playing this. Exile target creature and return to battlefield 1 counter on it. And it's tapped and attacking. This card might be ridiculous. Maybe this would be the commander. Who knows? Strong Wolf. This is a new card I also just put today. Whenever it attacks, each player mills a card, and you can untap it to make each opponent mill a card. So, in theory, if you attack, you get 2. You could, in theory, get 2 cards every turn for 3. This, I don't know how to pronounce this, but Arsenal, whenever it taps, each player mills a card, and you can pay 4 to give this indestructible. It can't be blocked except by it can't be blocked except by creatures that have trample. No, it can't be blocked by creatures that have trample, lifelink, or vigilance this turn. It's a 7/1. And it also has an indestructible at that point in time. So it's a pretty ridiculously good card. It's not a legendary creature. I think we have another one here. This is another one card you can have as many copies as you want in it, and this is probably it. It says you can have as many copies as you want. It's Death Touch creature, so 1/1 for. You could technically pay 4 life. It gets +1/+1 for each other werewolf you control with a different mana cost. Its mana confirmed mana cost is 2, so it's automatically going to be a 2/2 creature. Each other one, so it's not. It's only going to be a 1/1 into the other creatures in your graveyard. We got Cloak, which is a legendary creature. Pretty good creature, too. Whenever it deals damage, you may mill cards equal to its power. You can pay 2 life to put a counter on this, and once per turn, you may cast a spell or play a land mill this turn. So you can get a extra spell. You still have to pay the mana cost. It's not free, so that's the only bad thing about that. Werewolf with a Sword. And there's one card I wanted to make live. Whenever this attacks, target player mills 4 cards. If that player is you, that means you can do it. You place 1 counter on target creature control. Otherwise, you lose 2 life. And defeated is the last card I made here. We got one more card to make here. You can exile target creature if the power of that creature you exiled is power 3 or less. You get to it. You exile it if it's not, unless it's power 3 or less. Last card that I had here. I'm going to get this up here. I think that line got logged out. Let's try this again. This is the card that can win you the game. I don't see. If it's logged me out, I might have to use something else. The idea of this one is it is a legendary creature. This is the creature you want. I think it's a werewolf wizard. The only one that said that's a wizard. Did I not have that running the entire time? Okay, we're good. It's the last card in this one. This is the card that's probably going to be your commander. Because there's a very good reason for it. The card, let's see, what are we going to use? I'm going to get a... This card is your creature. And while it's working on it, I'm going to explain. This card is a legendary. It will be a legendary werewolf wizard. It says, if you have no cards in your library, you win the game. It's gonna give me a second. I gotta make sure I have the right card, right text. You guys can't see me using paint here, but I'm using paint.net. This card is the last card that we're making for this club, which would be the last card we have here. I actually laughed if I added this part here. The cards mana cost is 2 blue, 2 black. And luckily they put standard frames here. It is a blue, black, gold. It is a werewolf, wizard, warrior, mythical rare, legendary artifact creature. I don't even know if they'll let me do that. Nope. It is a legendary creature then. It's not a warrior. At the beginning of each player's in step, if you have no cards in your library, win the game. You can also pay 0 to mill a card. There is going to be a trigger for this, because obviously you can't, if we just said 0 mill a card, well, guess what? Once I play this creature, I win the game. Activate.
All right, activate around Charlotte.
What was that supposed to mean? Actually, I'm Charlotte. I don't know if you guys heard that, but say only if you it costs 0. Tap a permanent. Okay, let's put the permanent right. Permanent.
Here's the definition of tournament. In a sport or game, a series of contests between a number of competitors who compete for an overall prize.
Permanent.
Here's the definition of permanent.
Shut. This is a legendary creature. It is a roll 2 dice. Oh God. Let's just see here. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. We'll make it a 4/6 creature. I think that's not unreasonable for 4 mana. It doesn't really do much else. I mean, let's see what the version of it is after. This does not prove it. Let's see what we got here. We have at the beginning of each player's in step, if you have no cards in your library, you win the game. I'm gonna add the V here. And you can activate the tap of permanent anytime. So basically, if you have, you can mill your entire deck out with this creature. I think there's going to be one more thing I want to add to this. It says no, it's this guy remain this way. I think we're going to change the mana cost somewhat, though. It's going to be 1 blue, black. I think that's fair. Oh, for 4/6, though, that's too much. We'll make it a 2. We'll make it 2/5. A defender. I don't think that's unreasonable. Looking at the thing again here, it says you can. This card might be ridiculously broken, honestly. At the beginning of your in step, at the beginning of each player's in step, if you have no cards in your library, you win the game. No, I'm changing that back. We're close to it. 1 black, blue, blue. I think that's reasonable. It's 4 mana cost, therefore you have to have something. If it does is, but all you have to do, and the thing is, it says tap a permanent, which means it does not affect it by summon sickness. So this would be an interesting card, and I think this is the main commander for this deck. All the other cards could be commander as well, but I think that's probably going to end up being the main commander. That's it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching this one. I want to go over, because this is over, we're in the first week of May here, what is going on for the next couple months. I don't think you guys can see this, but yeah. So next week I will not be streaming. I have other things I have to do. I'm gonna be doing. Then we got on the 25th. Yes, this section. Actually, rephrase that. Next week there will be a stream. I don't know what it is yet. There won't be a stream on the 18th. On the 25th will be Balance School episode number 40. There will be no stream on the 1st because I will be preparing for Wonka's stream, which will be the next. So the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, 1 week of streams. On that week. It's only going to be Monday through Thursday. It's not going to be on... It's Monday through Thursday and Friday for that one. I'm not going to be doing it on Friday. And then 8th will be a pack opening for Wonka Streams. We've got Crystal Story on the 15th. Then no stream on the 22nd. Then Enchant Cave part, whatever the next part is going to be on the 29th. And then I'm working on figuring out what I'm going to do for the next couple of streams for that one. One of them, I will say, in July is going to be a Pokemon-based stream. I'm not going to go into that too much. It's going to be something to do with Magic, though. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget your game on. And I do want to let you guys know I am going to be uploading the second half or the next round for the MGT tournaments. That'll be coming up, give or take, probably on the 18th as well. I'll be uploading on that day. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video. Don't forget, guys, to keep your game on.